Okay, here we go. It's another edition of Live Sports Rush Saturday. Welcome to it, everyone. Glad to have you on board. I'm Brett Rump. I'll be joined here soon by Adam Lundy. A lot to cover with this Saturday. It's been a busy week because, well, we're all about the Florida Panthers. Not really. I just enjoy getting that into the show because I am a Florida Panthers fan. I have a house down in Boca Raton, which is only about 25 minutes from Sunrise, Florida, where the Panthers play. I've gone to Panthers home games when I've been down in Florida. And so I am thrilled to know that one of my two teams has made it to the championship series. Florida Panthers will be playing for a Stanley Cup, and they're going to do it against the team they beat a year ago, the Edmonton Oilers. But that's not why we're here on a Saturday, and that's not why you're here. Why you're here is to, hey, talk a little bit about Northeast Indiana sports, what matters to the Fort Wayne area sports fan. I am all about it. I am ready. And we've got a lot to cover. We've got the Indiana Pacers and the New York Knicks, a big game six coming up tonight. Also, we've got the Indiana Fever having to deal with injury upon injury upon injury. And it is piling up for the Indiana Fever. That is a problem because the Fever have lost Caitlin Clark, which is the most important of the injuries, although there's a couple of other significant ones. But Caitlin Clark not being out there, and it looks like the Fever cannot win without Caitlin Clark. Also, we'll talk a little bit about the Colts quarterback situation now that the Colts are in their OTAs, their mini camps, getting in some work. What's going to happen with this situation with the Indianapolis Colts and their quarterback battle? We've got that coming up as well. And as I said, hopefully Adam Lundy is going to be jumping on here soon and joining the program. Hey, I don't know if you happen to catch this morning, but I'll tell you what, I had a glorious, almost a lunch hour because the game started at 11 o'clock. It has been an absolute thrill to be able to bring you high school baseball this year. And today may have been the exclamation point of the season because we did the sectional at Garrett, and we had two conference opponents, East Noble versus Leo, going at it head to head. And Leo had beaten East Noble 9-3 during the regular season. By record, it looked like Leo was a big favorite. They came in 21-5. East Noble came in 16-9. But what a battle we got to see. And part of it is because Leo already had to play a game in the sectional. East Noble had the bye, which means, some of your top pitchers flip around. It's one of those situations where you don't expect upsets, but upsets happen in the sectionals because it all comes down to what pitchers do you have versus what pitchers do they have. But what a game we had earlier today. In fact, our producer back in the studio was none other than Adam Lundy. So he actually got to listen while we got to call it. And I'll tell you what, high school baseball doesn't get much better than what we had today. And there he is, the man himself, Adam Lundy. Good afternoon, Adam.
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me all right? Am I coming
There,
through
now
nice
we
and
can.
clear?
You got to
Awesome.
turn it up a little bit. Yep.
Don't want to be too loud here, but yeah, no, you said it. What a fantastic a baseball game it was this morning
So,
between the two teams.
so here is the setup. Obviously, Leo went in as a big favorite. And I talked to Gary Rogers, the Leo head coach, before the game. He said East Noble's a really solid team, really good team. That's all he would say. And and I'll tell you, I think he knew that East Noble probably was capable of giving them a game, but he also understood what he was wearing was the favorites tag. Well, East Noble gets a run in the first. They add another run in the fourth. They're up 2-0 heading to the bottom of the fourth inning. And Leo gets Luke McDonald with a home run to make it 2-1. Landon Ruoff followed with a double. A single followed Ruoff's double. Next thing you know, you've got 3 runs that come in for Leo. Leo takes the lead. Now you kind of figure, okay, Leo's back on top. Now they're going to cruise from here. They added another run an inning later, made it 4-2, heading to the sixth. Time running out on the East Noble Knights. Couple of outs, couple of runners on base, and all of a sudden an explosion by East Noble. Hit after hit after hit after hit. I mean, they strung together like 5 straight base hits, and I think they had a walk mixed in. Next thing you know, 5 runs come across in the top of the sixth. Now all of a sudden, all the pressure in the world is on the favorite, Leo. Heading to the bottom of the sixth, it's now a 7-4 game. East Noble having Leo down to their last 6 outs with a 3-run lead. It and then Leo comes up with a couple of runs in the bottom of the sixth. Those are huge because now you go to the seventh, you're only down a run. East Noble gets first crack to add insurance, top of the seventh inning. They go down 1-2-3. Nolan Butcher had a great top of the seventh inning to put them down in order, and we go to the bottom of the seventh inning. First man up, out. Second man up, out number 2. 2 outs, bases empty, and a 3-2 pitch to the number 2 hitter in the lineup is ball 4. So they get a 2-out walk to keep the game alive, down by 1. And Luke McDonald steps into the left-handed batter's box. Had 1 home run on the season coming into the game today. Had 1 home run already in the game. Drama. He gets in a hole. 1 ball, 2 strike. Fouls a pitch off. Next pitch. Boom, baby. High and deep to right. Just over the right field wall. A walk-off 2-run homer. And Leo breaks the hearts of the East Noble Knights. That was a instant classic if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't have scripted up much better. That's one of those things where you can just, in the game of baseball, have those super exciting, dramatic finishes. And we were grateful to have one today on our airwaves. It was a lot of fun.
And so the podcast is available for anybody who wants to go back and relive some of the great moments of that game because there were plenty of them. You can check it out on the Fort Wayne High School Sports podcast page. Just search for it by name wherever you listen to your podcast. It's going to be there, Fort Wayne High School Sports, and you'll be able to find, well, almost every high school broadcast that we've done on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM. But today's game was something special. All right. Hey, there's another big game tonight, Adam. This day is not done with great games.
Oh, yeah, the Tin Caps are in action tonight. No.
That wasn't the one I was talking about, but true. Tin Caps will play game 5 of their 6-game series in Midland, Michigan against the Great Lakes Loons. That's not the one, Adam.
You must be referring to the Indiana Pacers in action tonight.
Yeah, well, I could be referring to the Pacers. Yeah.
Could be. I'm sure there's other games somewhere being played somewhere, but that seems like the big one.
Man, it's all about the Pacers tonight.
It's the one,
Pacers
man.
look for a bounce back. A bad night at Madison Square Garden. I'd like to give the Knicks credit, and Jalen Brunson, I will give credit. I don't think anybody else did anything that was so spectacular that they won the game. I think more the Indiana Pacers lost it. They didn't come out with the intensity and effort you need in a closeout game. It is almost as if they decided they had, one of those get out of free jail cards, and so they didn't mind going to jail, because that's where they're at now. They're literally now in jail, hoping that get out of jail free card works because they have to win tonight's game. Now up 3-2. Game 6 is in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Game 7 would be back at Madison Square Garden. This is it to me. This is possibly the series. I mean, I'm not going to say there's no chance for the Pacers because, again, it's very hard to win 3 in a row, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. But if you're a Pacers fan, you do not want to see this go to a Monday night Game 7 in New York.
No, that's the last thing you want, and like you said, all the pressure, I mean, it's easy to say, "Oh, if it goes back to game 7, all the pressure's on the Indiana Pacers," but it's on them tonight as well because, like you said, last thing you wanna do is giving all the Knicks all the confidence going home for game 7. If you wanna win this Eastern Conference Finals, you really do wanna do it tonight. I mean, it's almost do or die, like you said.
I have said this repeatedly that when a team plays from behind, and generally it's in reference to a game where you fall behind early and you're constantly playing comeback, that is much more taxing. It's much more fatiguing. You're more fatigued and tired after the game when you have had to play an entire 48 minutes, always chasing the leader in the game and always trying to play catch up. It takes more energy to come back in a game than it does to hold a lead. And the same can be said for a series. It takes a lot more energy to come back when you're down with your backs against the wall than it does to have that comfort of being in the driver's seat, having the 3-1 lead. Because I feel like game 5, the New York Knicks had to play their butts off. They had no choice but to play as fast or hard, I won't say fast, as hard and aggressive as possible. And I think the Pacers have an opportunity to take advantage of that tonight because if they can get that running game established and get the game going up and down the court, I think they're going to expose the Knicks as tired. I think the Pacers can run away with this. I think if you go back, remember the last series the Knicks played. Remember Jason Tatum got hurt. The game was in Boston. And we said, you know what? There's going to be a lot of pride for the Celtics. The Knicks, knowing they had a beat up Boston Celtics team and had the luxury of going back home in the next game, they lost that game to Boston in Boston. And what did that make the series? 3-2. Came back to New York City. What happened? The Knicks won by about 50, right?
They sure did.
Why? Because Boston had completely given everything they had left in the tank to win that home game and not get beat on their home floor. I think that possibility exists tonight for the Indiana Pacers. I think if they start building a lead, I don't think this is going to be another 20-point Knicks comeback. I don't think they've got that kind of energy. The Pacers, with if they get the pace going, because they never did get the pace going in Game 5. They
No.
and part of that problem is early on the Knicks hit shots that when the ball goes through the basket, it's much tougher to get it going the other direction. And because they were making shots, it slowed down the Pacers' transition game, and so it became more of a half court game, which hurt the Pacers. They fell behind. They had to fight back, but again, they just didn't have the heart to keep fighting back. It takes so much energy to do it. And they're like, I'd rather play from ahead. I'll wait till we go to Indiana and play. They never looked like they were desperate. Never looked desperate. And so here we go. What will they look like tonight? Feeling like a desperate team, feeling like almost an underdog. That's when they've played their best, right?
Right. Well, I can guarantee you that I don't think we're going to see a repeat performance of what we saw from Tyrese Halliburton in Game 5. I mean, like you said, I mean, like we've both said, this Pacers offense can be a well-oiled machine and it can score rapidly, and that's what we're going to need to see from Indiana if they want to win this series tonight, is to see that rapid fire offense that can put up a bunch of points and create a lead that's insurmountable for the Knicks away from Madison Square Garden. But all pieces of the machine have to be working properly, and the cog that was Tyrese Halliburton was a little bit needing of some WD-40 in Game 5 because he looked a little rusty just overall.
Everybody's ready to crown him a superstar and everything after that 32, 15, and 12 performance, the triple
Very
double,
impressive. Yeah.
no turnovers. And then he comes out and does that. That's
I,
not what a superstar is. I'm sorry. A superstar has that killer instinct, and they come out and they bury their opponent when they've got him down. I said it on one of my videos this week that Tyrese Halliburton's a really good player, but let's not crown him as a superstar yet. A superstar can carry the other four players no matter how they play and can still lead you to wins. And I'll tell you who's closer to being a superstar and probably has established superstar status now than Tyrese Halliburton is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because I don't think he needs any teammates. He can come up with the bucket when you need a bucket. He can come up with a defensive play when you need a defensive play. He can do it regardless of how his teammates are playing. And Tyrese Halliburton kind of goes with the flow. When the mojo is good and the vibe is good, Tyrese Halliburton just kind of slides through and has great numbers. But tonight it's one of those games where it's the true test of a superstar. And if we want to try to put him into that category, and people nationally are trying to now squeeze him into that superstar status, and it's kind of like the same thing when we talk about players that are elite versus players that are just really good. It's all perspective, how you define elite status versus how you define superstar status. But to me, this is one of those superstar tests. At home, bounce back game. It's time for Tyrese Halliburton to outplay Jalen Brunson. Those are the two stars of the team, whether you call them superstars or just stars. The Pacers didn't get that kind of leadership performance from Tyrese. Quite honestly, he wasn't very good at all in game five. So tonight's going to be an important one for Tyrese to bounce back, and I expect him to, because the history has been when the Pacers and Tyrese have had their off nights, they've bounced back and played pretty well. So I'm expecting a pretty good performance. Like I said, if they pull away and start building a big lead, I think the energy of that crowd, and I think what energy the Knicks have left, that the series will be over. And I predicted it, and I'm hoping that for this anyway, because I predicted it Pacers in 6 before the series started, and it would make me right for, I don't want to
Yeah,
say for once.
screw the Pacers result. You just want to be right.
I just want to be right. Yeah, I think the Pacers could still win a game 7, but dang it,
I
if they
want to
win
be
in
right.
7, I'm not right. I want to be right. But all right, so here's my question.
Mm,
Uh, the other night, Thursday night in New York, Pacers have only 94 points.
yeah.
Obviously, that's the Pacers, the highest scoring team in the playoffs this year. Not now put up a 94 spot, so I doubt they're still the highest scoring team in the playoffs. But in that game, how many players had more than one 3-pointer?
For both teams?
No, for the Indiana Pacers.
For just the Pacers, how many players?
Pacers get a lot of their offense from 3-point shots.
Yeah.
How many players had more than one? Because I will tell you, I had a pretty substantial bet on somebody hitting over 1.5, and they didn't get there.
Let's see. They didn't score that much. I mean, it was only 106 to. Are you talking about the 106 to 100 game
No,
3?
111-94, game
Oh,
five.
okay. Okay.
Pacers. How many Pacers had more than one 3-pointer made in that game? And I'll give you this clue. There were three. Three.
Okay. Uh so 2? 1? Oh, did only one of them? No, I'm going to guess 2 of them made 3 at least 2
No.
pointers.
How many or what? Who were the players that
Oh, I'm guessing
made?
who?
Who were the players for the Pacers? Adam, we need to
Uh
get you an injection of some kind of a one of those caffeine drinks or something. We got to
Something like that. Uh
something, yeah, because it's taken me 4 tries to get this answer.
all right,
There,
who made
there were three
there are
players that
3?
made more than one 3-pointer in that game. Who
Let's
were the
see.
three?
I know Tyrese did not make one, so I'm going to leave him off the list. I'm going to go Benedict Mathurin because he was pretty good.
Okay, that's a bell. That's one.
Woo! All right.
He was 2 for 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's probably not a starter because I feel like it was somebody that you probably put your money on a starter. Uh, did Benedict Matherin? Not, I already said Benedict. Ben Shepherd. Did Ben Shepherd hit two off the
You
bench?
are 2 for 2. You have hit two of the three.
I can't remember the third. You're gonna have to tell me the third.
Jarris Walker, who didn't even hasn't even
Oh,
played in this series. Jarris Walker
yeah. I remember him hitting those threes. Now,
had
yeah,
2 out of 4.
I remember
The
being surprised.
starters collectively had 3 3-pointers made as a group.
Wow, wow.
I mean, I feel like the starters have to almost double that. They've got to be 8 to 10 3 pointers made. Aaron Neesmith,
Definitely.
who set the Madison Square Garden on fire with his 5 threes late in that game. What game 2 was it?
Mhm.
He was
Or
1 for 5 from
yeah.
three. Um, Pascal Siakam was 1 for 3 from three. Aaron Nemhard. Is there ever going to be an Aaron Nemhard spotting in this series? We still have not found him. He's a little small. He's hiding. 0 for 1, and Halliburton 0 for 2. Halliburton was 2 for 7 from the field. And after having a triple double, he had a zero double in the game on Thursday. He finished with 8 points, 6 assists, and 2 rebounds. That was a
Yeah.
quarter in game 4, and it was his
That's
game for game 5.
that's just a head scratcher. It really is. You're gonna see him be more aggressive tonight. You have to. You have to.
Yeah, I mean, Neesmith 1 for 8 overall from the field. Miles Turner took 3 shots,
Miles.
had 2 rebounds.
Yeah.
Nemhard is the one though that is my biggest concern. I don't think he matches up well against the Knicks, and if he's not doing anything else to provide something positive on the court, why is Nemhard playing? And number two, should he be starting? I say at this point, you match up better. You need to get off to a good start. I would, if I was Rick Carlisle, I would seriously consider starting Ben Matherin in place of Andrew Nemhard in tonight's game. What would you do?
I mean, yeah. I mean, just what we've seen production wise, it'd be hard to argue against putting Mather in the starting lineup, especially when you just scored only 94 points in Game 5. You got to get that production up. We've seen it from Matherin. Why not try and give him a couple more minutes in the starting lineup?
Here's the other thing about Matherin, not only what he brings to you offensively, but what he can do at the defensive end because
Mm,
of the flexibility. He can guard Bridges, Anunoby. He can guard Brunson. He can guard Josh Hart. I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys that generally are heavy minute guys for the Knicks that Matherin could match up with. And so it gives you flexibility in the other 4 positions, how you play around that. But Nemhard can't guard any of them. I mean, he cannot guard Anunoby. He has not been guarding Bridges. Clearly, Jalen Brunson is too strong for him. He just backs him down to the basket and shoots right over him because he's small. You can't put him on Hart. Hart will go to the glass and get rebounds. Uh, and the other thing too is if you guard Hart, often you're the second defender on a drive to the basket. And what's he going to do with Towns? I mean, Towns drives and you've got Nemhard as the rim protector. It's not going to do anything.
no.
And so I just don't see. You've got to be very selective, I think, in where you use Nemhard. I would love to see him have a game like Matherin did in game 4 and have kind of a breakout, hit some shots. But he has been an absolute absentee in this series so far. And I'm like, if you're not going to show up, put somebody in who is showing up. You only have 7 games and you have to win 4. You can't wait around a couple of weeks for a guy to come out of a funk.
Right. I mean, we saw Tibbs make an adjustment, switching out Josh Hart in the starting lineup for Mitchell Robinson, putting a little bit more size in there, and just a little bit better defense in the paint for a Pacers team that likes to drive a lot. So, that's an adjustment we've seen on the Knicks side. It's time to see if there's going to be an adjustment on the Pacers side. And I'm with you. I think Matherin in the starting lineup could be something interesting, something to keep an eye out for, perhaps.
All right, we got to talk about my man Miles Turner,
Miles.
who happened to be the guy who cost me money the other night.
Did you have him for 2 3 pointers?
I had him over 1.5,
Yeah.
and he got one fairly early,
Mhm.
and then
Only
never
3
hit another
shots.
three. In fact, didn't
Yeah.
even take a couple that he could have taken. He ended up with one 3-pointer. I thought Turner would be a guy because of the game that Halliburton had. This was my thinking that the Knicks would probably aggressively off that ball screen either double or strongly hedge against Halliburton to keep him from taking off or getting an open look. And that's just because of the hot hand that Halliburton had in game 4. I thought if they do that, Turner's going to get a lot of 3-point looks on the pick and pop game. And it just, Turner, I mean, did he even want to be there? It's like, did he just get a ticket to New York that he really didn't want? Because he didn't seem to have any energy. His feet were slow. Towns just took him right to the basket. Either him or Siakam. It didn't matter who guarded Towns. They were going right to the rim. And just a nothing game. I mean, the Pacers, they have great depth, but also it's a team that's built on everybody kind of doing their job. Nobody, like we talk about the superstars and how they can carry a team without the support of the 4 people around them. Pacers don't have that luxury. They need contributions from a large collection of the 10 players or 12 players that play. And they got nothing from Nemhard. They got nothing from Turner. It was just a bad night for Turner. I'm kind of waiting for him to have a breakout game. Right now, he's been dominated either by Robinson, who's pushed him around, Towns, who, when he tries to guard Towns, just has Towns one bounce and he's around the edge heading to the basket, drawing fouls. But his hands, if you notice that game 5, very first play of the game, they lobbed it down to Turner and he bobbled it. Then they threw him a pass near half court and he bobbled it. It's like, was the pressure too great? Were you just not ready to play? Because I thought those 2 plays kind of set the tone for what we saw from Turner the rest of the night.
It's kind of interesting. I mean, I might even question, the mental, strain that this series has been taking on Turner, having to go up against the likes of Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, for the whole series. And there's actually been some times where Carlisle has actually gone in favor of Tony Bradley as someone who he's had guard Mitchell Robinson for brief stretches of the game over Turner. So that's been interesting as well. I mean, only 24 minutes in the loss there for Turner, and like you said, only 3 shots on the game, and 2 of them were 3-pointers. So just an interesting lack of aggression, and interesting, lack of overall minutes, and just like you said, just not what you want or need out of Miles Turner if this Pacers offense is going to be chugging in all cylinders.
After the Pacers lost their 2 backup bigs in the preseason, of course, they picked up Thomas Bryant. Bryant was generally the first big off the bench for Miles Turner during the season. And I think it might have been game 1 when Bryant came in and just absolutely was smothered by Mitchell Robinson. It was like a man versus a boy. Robinson didn't even have to push. He just had to lean on Bryant and knock him under the basket. And at that point, Rick Carlisle then did go to Bradley and said, we got to find somebody who's man enough to hold their ground against Mitchell Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bryant hasn't been used quite as much, but I don't know the health status of Bradley. He
Right,
had
he's
that hip issue.
questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that hip issue. I'm not sure if he's going to be available tonight, so we might see more Thomas Bryant tonight. Obi Toppin was not good. Adam, I know he's former Knick.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have an allegiance to him, but he was not good in Game Five. I, we need a bounce back. If you're a Pacers fan, need a bounce back from Obi Toppin.
Yeah, you want him to hit at least a couple of those threes, especially if you're going to be taking 4 of them. That's something we've seen that he can do and can have hot stretches for games. So I would like to see him maybe nail 1 or 2 of those corner threes that they've often fined him for. But yeah, a little bit more than 11 points, 4 rebounds from Toppin would be nice. Yeah.
You know what's funny about Toppin?
What's up?
He hit that huge 3-pointer in the last minute of Game Four.
Yep.
He shouldn't have even been in the game, and he wouldn't have been in the game if it hadn't been for was it Turner that picked up his sixth foul?
I'm not
Turner
sure.
fouled
Somebody,
out,
yeah, yeah.
and they opted to put in Toppin because Bradley had been hurt. They didn't trust Thomas Bryant, so they put in Toppin. Wouldn't have even been in the game. He goes in the game and then hits the dagger three that kind of seals the Game Four win. So tonight, how you feeling, Knicks fan?
Well, it's like you said. I mean, it's a case of avoiding the Pacers getting out to too big of a lead at home with that excited crowd wanting them to go on to the NBA Finals. For the Knicks, it's about doing whatever it takes to keep it close. Hopefully, if we can, take a lead, and if we do take a lead, it has to be a big one because we've seen what the Pacers can do with a small lead in just a matter of seconds if the offense is clicking. So really, it's really up to the Knicks defense tonight to not only keep the offense of the Pacers at bay, but to keep New York within scoring distance of a chugging offense that's going to be rolling at home.
32-2 when the Pacers score 120 points.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about this, and I'm like, as bad as they were offensively in Game Five, they are going to come out and play at a torrid pace. I think they will hit shots. I think they'll get to 120 points. And at 32-2, I like my odds for a Pacers win. I'm going 121 to 111. Pacers win it over the Knicks. Pacers advance to the finals to take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, since we only do this show on Saturdays, that means this is my chance to look ahead, and I'm not trying to ignore the Knicks. But the Pacers have 2 chances to win one. The Knicks have to win 2 out of 2. So let's just theoretically say that it is the Pacers that play Oklahoma City. What do you think about that series, that matchup?
Man, that's going to be another case of 2 offenses here just absolutely going ballistic in the NBA Finals. It's going to be one of those series where, once again, the Pacers will need to step up on the defensive end of the floor and limit them as much as possible. Obviously, the number one plan is going to be to limit Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but the question is, if you do try to limit him, does he get his other teammates going? We've seen can all score. If Shai's getting his passing going, we can see that 3 of his teammates can score 15 to 20 points. So it really is a tough offense to slow down. But if there's any team that can compete with that level of offense, that high level of offense, it is the Indiana Pacers and their depth. It's 2 very deep teams. I mean, I've seen a lot of people saying if it is the Knicks, they're concerned about the overall depth of the Knicks against a team like the Thunder. So the Pacers, from what I've heard, would be the better matchup in the finals. So that's my kind
Right.
of take on it.
I think OKC is actually a better matchup for the Pacers than the Knicks. And
Yeah.
I said that before the Knicks series. I said matchups are going to be really interesting because the Pacers, from a physicality standpoint, just from an overall size and who they like to play and the combinations. Remember, the Pacers have 2 short guards, T.J. McConnell and Andrew Nembhard, and you got to figure out where they rotate and who they guard. And so I like the matchup against Oklahoma City better for the Pacers. But again, it's strength on strength offensively, but defensively, Oklahoma City's a much better team. And so I think if those 2 teams meet, I would say somewhere 5.5 would be my over under. Does OKC win it in under 5.5 or over 5.5? But it'd be hard for me to see the Pacers being able to stretch out a long series. Oklahoma City's playing really well right now. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's the real deal as their star player, but they've got a lot of other really good players around him. Um, you know, you it would be a tough matchup for the Pacers, even though physically they match up well. But it's the overall offense against the overall offense. You know, the thing the Pacers have against the Knicks is if the Pacers can score and get up to 130, a lot of pressure on the Knicks because they're not a team that has tons of scores. But Oklahoma City, I mean, you could have games 142, 141. You know, the Oklahoma City Thunder can score with the Pacers. In fact, I'm wondering 32-2 were one of those two losses to Oklahoma City when they scored 120. I
I
know
wouldn't
they
be
lost to Oklahoma City this season, but it might have been an Oklahoma City game. Anyway, all
I
right,
wouldn't be surprised.
let's talk about the Fever. I mentioned this at the top of the show. The Indiana Fever have a problem. The Fever has a fever. They've got the injury bug right now. And they were a team that didn't have a deep roster to begin with. I mean, remember, it's only 12-man rosters. The Fever only had 11 on their roster because of salary cap. So, you know, then they lose one, they lose Caitlin, they're down to nine, they lose two or maybe even three more. They may have to get a hardship exemption to be able to sign another player. So they've got some kind of depth. Um, you know, this whole thing can, I don't want to say derail a season, but you're playing teams that you should beat easily if you're not shorthanded and you're losing. Connecticut did not win a game all year and beat the Fever. Washington was 500 and they beat the Fever. I mean, right now, it kills me that the Chicago Sky will get the Fever without Caitlin Clark, maybe without Sophie Cunningham, and maybe without Colson and who else. I mean, it just seems like the list goes on and on of players that are no longer available for the Fever and will be out. At least that's what I'm expecting. Didn't look like Sophie Cunningham's going to be on the court anytime soon. She just missed 2 weeks with a tweak of that ankle, and it looked like she hurt herself pretty badly, at least according to her reaction last night. And so this hurts. DeWanna Bonner did step up, hit some big shots. I said that DeWanna Bonner was averaging 2.5 points a game when Caitlin Clark was announced to the sideline for at least 2 weeks. And I said Bonner's somebody that's got to put up points. She's taken a more passive position on this team because of some of the other scorers with Boston and with Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark. But DeWanna Bonner has to step up. And she did hit a couple of big threes. What a comeback last night, only to end up that it didn't matter. Down 15 with like 8 minutes to go, and they go on a 16-0 run to take a 1 point lead. That was crazy. And I think Bonner had two or maybe even three threes during that stretch.
Yeah, and like you said, this injury bug for the Fever really stinks, but it's a good time to have it. I mean, if you're gonna have it, might as well get it out of the way early in the season. Let some of these people that aren't going to be seeing as many minutes when the team is at full health get some crucial minutes now, pick up some experience. We can worry a little bit more about win-loss record when we get a little bit closer to the playoffs. But like you said, it does hurt, especially when some of these losses have been close losses too. So I'm not hitting the panic button yet, but it'll be nice to see the Fever back at full health. And I'm also sure that the network supervisors that have scheduled all of these Fever games for primetime television are also ready for the Fever to get back to full health too. Because I'm just looking at their schedule for their upcoming games, and I see a lot of nationally broadcast games. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of upset people tuning in when they don't see Caitlin Clark on the floor.
Oh yeah, they've got the rematch with the Mystics coming up on Tuesday, and then on Friday, is it Friday or Saturday? Is the showdown against the Sky in Chicago? They moved that game to the United Center,
Home of
and
the Chicago Bulls.
20,000 tickets available for that game, sold out. Tickets were on the third party platforms or third party software programs for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Mm.
Now they're like $20. Please come take my ticket.
Yeah, I hope all those resellers took their first offer because they're probably a lot lower now.
Yeah, because but it shocks me because apparently everybody bought those tickets because of Angel Reese.
Oh no, they're going to see her. That's you didn't know that?
They're not just going to see Caitlin Clark; they're going to see Angel Reese too.
Yeah, that's why the price of the tickets plummeted.
Maybe to see what kind of lies she can fabricate this time.
Oh
All right,
man,
and I got to talk about this because
go for it.
to me, this is like classic defamation against an entire fan base, an entire state. When if you're going to make these accusations and there is nothing to substantiate the accusation, and this is twice Angel Clark has done, or Angel Reese has done this. See how I just merged those two together?
They're always intertwined.
God. But if you're going to completely come up with a story that no one backs up, not the security personnel that was guarding the Chicago Sky bench, not the fans that were in the general vicinity of where apparently this was happening. They said they interviewed coaches, players, security personnel, ushers, fans, and the WNBA investigated for 10 days and found nothing that substantiated the allegations from Angel Reese, which is a nice way to say she made it up. Now, you're an Indiana fan. This goes out and it is reported on a widespread basis that Angel Reese was targeted with racist comments and slurs. And it happened in Indiana where they all love their white basketball girl, Caitlin Clark. It's building a perception that those of us in Indiana are nothing but a bunch of white racist hillbillies. I am offended by that. She has offended me, and in my mind, she has defamed a fan base in the state because once you're accused, the label is stuck on you. The court of public opinion has determined that there's a bunch of racists that go to Indiana Fever games because Angel Reese said so. And then the WNBA quietly slips out a release that the media can either post, talk about, or ignore. Many of them pretty much ignoring it. Why? Because they were the media that was waving the racist flag, trying to back up their girl, Angel Reese. And and so they don't want to publicize that it was all a fabricated lie. It was made up. It didn't happen. It was unsubstantiated. But aren't there penalties? How can people just get away with this? To call out a fan base, to send the WNBA into a 10-day investigative mode that they probably had better things to deal with. I'm That bothers me as much as anything is that it's said, it's reported on, and then all this time and money gets wasted looking at nothing, but no one realizes they didn't find anything. And Angel Reese doesn't get suspended. See, if she got suspended, now it's a public statement. Now everybody will know she got suspended because she lied about that thing she said about the Indiana fans. In the least, she should be suspended. That way, it becomes a media story, and the WNBA sends a message that while we support our players against this type of action or activity, we will not support our players that make it up. And this is twice now. You remember the video that was shown when Angel Reese claimed they were blocking the entrance to the hotels, and there was like one guy there walking around trying to get an autograph. Um, yeah, it's crazy. And in fact, speaking of Angel Reese, let's talk about her as a player. It's funny. I say that. And the first thing is you laugh.
It hasn't been good to start the season.
No. Well, here's the thing. I don't know why she continues to garner or receive credit as being so significant when on the court she does nothing. Grabs an occasional rebound of her own miss. Here's the numbers. Okay, Cardoso is one of those that I think the Chicago Sky want to start working the offense through and to Cardoso a little bit more, and Angel Reese may have to take a back seat. Cardoso so far this season averaging 12.8 points, while Angel Reese is averaging 9.2, and that's without Cardoso being really established as the number one option. Cardoso is shooting 54.7% from the field, and we all know she shoots primarily from the free throw line in. Angel Reese similarly shoots mostly layups and shoots 31.3%. I just
Yeah.
watched video of Caitlin Clark wearing a freaking blindfold and hitting 3-point shots.
Yeah, scoring is just shooting is just not in the Angel Reese wheelhouse, I don't think.
But the first thing is quit putting the pressure on her by labeling her as something she is not. Because then when she tries to be that player, it with all that pressure, I don't think it helps her a bit. Call her what she is. Don't put lofty expectations that she can't deliver. I think that's too much pressure, and I think that's what the national media has done is they've raised the bar so high with Angel Reese and tried to compare her to Caitlin Clark. And Angel Reese is never going to be a Caitlin Clark. She's never going to be on Clark's level. It has nothing to do with being white or black. It just has to do with basketball talent. And one has it, one doesn't. End of story. And it's too much pressure when the national media keeps trying to make parallels or comparisons of rookie of the year or whatever, because the fans don't show up for Angel Reese. They show up for Caitlin Clark. The stats are almost embarrassing for Angel Reese. And I think you take a lot of the pressure off if the media just accepts what she is and what she isn't, and that you were wrong. As a media, when you started to talk that she was a favorite, remember when they made their picks for Rookie of the Year before the season a year ago? And I think more than half picked Angel Reese to be the Rookie of the Year over Caitlin Clark. Just admit you were wrong and
It makes you
move on.
wonder, you know? It makes you wonder, I mean, how much of this, quote unquote rivalry would exist had Angel Reese gone to a school that wasn't LSU, that wasn't a national champion, that was able to be on the national stage as much as they were, to get all that screen time between her and Clark when she was first coming up, and she just kind of found her way to intertwine herself into Caitlin Clark's story. If she had gone to any other school, I just would wonder what this would look like now in the WNBA. And it's really just weird. It's weird behavior, and I really do hate to see it because it's one of the first games of the WNBA season, and it should have kicked off what could have been a really fun rivalry all season between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever. But instead, I don't know whether it's because she had a bad game or if because her team was blown out, but she felt the need to turn it into something it wasn't and take the fun out of it, which really hurts. And it hurts the league. It's another one of the WNBA players continuing to shoot the league in its own foot when it's trying to grow. It's another case of one of the other WNBA players trying to throw dirt and shade on the star player that's bringing in all the money and the viewership.
And she's
It's
not
just
alone
weird.
with that either.
She's not. She's not. It seems like every game there's some sort of shenanigan with another player, and you really do hate to see it.
All right. Were you on when I talked about my Florida Panthers?
No, I wasn't. Do you want to brag about them some more?
Yeah, I do. It's been
Go
a
for it.
minute. It's been a minute, so I've got to mention the Florida Panthers have already made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and they will
Woo!
have a rematch against Edmonton, who they beat in the finals a year ago.
Oh man,
Just want to
here they
make
come.
sure that that point gets in at the beginning of our show, at the end of our show.
You got a series prediction yet?
Um, no, I've got to think about this because I think here's the problem, and I talked to this to my son. Of course, my son is really the
Oh
fanatic for
yeah.
the Panthers. And we discussed this and said Edmonton is going to be what Florida was a year ago. Florida lost the Stanley Cup final the prior year, and they were on a mission. They were determined. They were not going to get that same feeling of being a runner up again. And he said this year Edmonton is what Florida was a year ago, and that scares me. And I think he's absolutely right that Edmonton is on a mission. They do not want anyone to take away what they feel is their championship season after being a runner up a year ago. It's going to be the toughest series so far for the Florida Panthers. And that's, it's kind of funny because as you go through, it's like Tampa Bay was tough, Toronto was tough, they got behind. And that's why you wonder, is the same hunger there for the Florida Panthers? Are they on
Mm.
that mission? Um, it's got the potential to be a great series, but Edmonton makes me a little nervous. The
Connor
fact that it's a
McDavid.
rematch, they can take it from the team that took it from them a year ago.
Oh, they'll be
Not,
fired up.
yeah, just, so they've got the Stanley Cup final experience. They're going against a team that they already have a little bit of a bitterness toward.
Hmm.
And so I think it might be, maybe this is Canada's year. Before they become the 51st state, they might win a dang Stanley Cup.
Oh, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. If they
By the
do get the
way,
cup, we've got to get it back. We've got to claim Canada as our 51st state so we can get the damn cup back.
that's why we're doing it. Actually,
Yeah, that must be
that's
it.
part
We're
of the
setting
reason
it
we
up.
we just want the Stanley Cup to stay in the USA.
All right.
Uh, let's
Enjoy the
see.
game tonight.
Thank you. By the way, before we go, our crack research department did find the two games that the Pacers scored 120 games and or
Oh, love that.
120 points and lost. They lost to the Memphis Grizzlies on December 1st, 136 to 121, and they lost to the Miami Heat on February 28th, 125 to 120.
Okay. So you said 121 and 120
Yes, sir.
in the two losses. So
Yes,
it did
sir.
not happen against OKC.
No,
They got beat by like 30, I know, one time against OKC. I don't remember the other, but I know they got blown out one time.
it
All right.
happens.
Have a great Saturday night. Appreciate you. Hopefully, we'll be back doing this again next Saturday. And of course, be sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you share the channel. We want you to be a part of the Sports Rush experience. I'll have plenty of plenty of posts during the course of the week, plenty of shorts. But you want to subscribe, like, share the channel, and click the bell so that you get the alerts when we do something like this and go live. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.